Part 55. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 542. The word spirit fanatic of the evil god cult is on the ship of the level 7 Annihilation High Priest Canute. The volcano closely follows the Royal Navy, waiting for an opportunity. Rudolph stands at the bow, staring at the flagship of the Annihilation Church in the distance, thinking about his future path of promotion. With each level increase, the number of apostles will decrease sharply, and the status of apostles will become more and more noble. The level 6 Knight Marquis Nikita and Marquis Paulu of Cotterport, who I just met, are not easy to hunt. Rudolph now encounters a problem. If he wants to continue to obtain high-level relics, then he is not an enemy of a certain high-level apostle, but an enemy of a certain force. Level 6 apostles have a very noble status in various forces. He thought for a long time and thought that he had two choices next. The first choice is to join a certain force, or to establish a force, and use force to fight force. Just like this naval battle, Rudolph joined the Royal Navy and helped the Royal Navy win. The relics of the evil god priest rolled in and could not be stopped. The second option is to become an assassin walking in the dark. Just like the Southern Cross wizards who have appeared in history, they have a special name, the Southern Cross Assassin. From the experience of dealing with the 7th level Oblivion High Priest Canute, this is a good choice. The absolute hit of the Southern Cross wizard can make him a threat to high-level apostles. This ability is a natural assassin. Looking back at the crew on the volcano, Rudolph quickly made a decision. The power of Redbeard Island is not strong enough, and Rudolph has no intention to run a pirate port. Pirate is just an identity of his in the Saragosi. He doesn't even have the experience of robbing ships. Rudolph is very lazy. He doesn't want to work hard for a port or run around for a pirate ship. On the contrary, Rudolph likes the identity of Southern Cross Assassin. The ability of the Southern Cross Wizard is so powerful that even if he becomes a wizard of a higher level, absolute hit is his core ability. When his strength is stronger and his attack methods are more deadly, then the enemy will be more afraid of him. Absolute hit is a very deterrent means, and deterrence is the basis for him to be valued by other forces. I believe that after today, many forces will treat him with caution. As the Southern Cross Assassin, he also has the Phoenix Rebirth, which makes it more likely that he will retreat safely when attacking others. It is not good to use sneak attack, which makes Rudolph look dishonorable, but this is what he means. After thinking about this, Rudolph determined his next development direction. Strengthen the Southern Cross Assassin attribute, and cooperate with certain forces as the Southern Cross Assassin to obtain resources for promotion. In the process of promotion, the original intention of the scavenger must not be forgotten. If Rudolph eventually needs to establish a force, he does not want his force to be a port, but an organization called scavenger. Clean up too many apostles and clean up the apostles who have done many evil things. After thinking about this, Rudolph is no longer anxious. He will get the last relic of the Southern Cross in the way of an assassin. The pursuit did not last long, and soon the Royal Navy issued an order to return, because the level 7 Annihilation High Priest Canute appeared at the bow, recovering from surgery. The fleet returned, the ships were reorganized, and began to deal with post-war matters. The first person to find the volcano was Kedrick. He came to the volcano in person and invited Rudolph to his flagship to discuss post-war matters together. Master Kedrick, Rudolph asked me to convey my apologies. He has very important and urgent things to deal with, so he has left the volcano. Hearing what Miss Yvonne said, Kedrick was a little disappointed. It was not that he was disappointed that Rudolph left, but that he was disappointed that he could not help Mr. Rudolph get the level 5 Word Spirit relic. Mr. Rudolph found the Word Spirit intelligence officer before the battle was over and asked about the location of the evil god called Word Spirit. It was obvious that he needed this relic very much. Yvonne continued, if there is anything that needs Redbeard Island to come forward, you can find Green Skull, he can also represent Redbeard Island. I understand, Miss Yvonne, I will go and invite Mr. Green Skull first. Kedrick went to the Green Skull to invite Cooper. Mr. Green Skull, please follow me to the flagship. The Royal Navy will treat friends who come to support generously. Oh. Although I am not good at dealing with these things that are exposed, since Rudolph is not here, I will represent Redbeard Island. Cooper was secretly happy. After observing Rudolph's negotiations with others several times, he believed that he had mastered the trick: speak boldly, be shameless, and scare and deceive without changing his face. Cooper felt that he was also good at being shameless and keeping his face. The second group to come to Rudolph was the Pirate King Baoli. Mr. Furness is not here? Where did he go? Yvonne replied, it is not convenient to disclose this, respected Pirate King. Furness said that if there is a chance, he will visit you again on Penzance Island. He asked me to ask on his behalf how the level 7 alchemical bullet is sold. Pirate King Baoli hurriedly smiled and replied, I am only a level 6 alchemist. It was a coincidence that I got a level 7 alchemical bullet. If I encounter a level 7 alchemical bullet again, I will definitely keep an eye out for Mr. Furness. After that, the Pirate King left the volcano. She didn't dare to give the Furnace another level 7 alchemical bullet. It was scary to think about a wizard like that holding a level 7 alchemical bullet. Those targeted by the Furnace would have trouble sleeping and eating. The Furnace could threaten the life of a level 7 apostle when it was at level 5. It would be terrible if he was promoted again. The Furnace was not on the volcano, which made Pirate King Baoli a little scared. The Furnace that was unknown was the most terrifying Furnace. No one knew where the Furnace would hide and shoot at the target. On her flagship, a wizard took out a parchment scroll and reported to the Pirate King. Captain, I checked. The Crucible has the characteristics of the Southern Cross, becoming the most terrifying Southern Cross wizard, with the legendary ability to hit with absolute accuracy. Are you sure? Very sure, Captain. The Crucible's attack that ignores defense can only be done by the Southern Cross wizard. The Pirate King nodded and said to the intelligence leader beside him, try to block this news and don't let the people in the Parliament know. My hatred with the Parliament is not over yet. I will not easily let go of those hatreds just because I have cooperated in fighting against the evil god cult. Although she just refused the purchase of the level 7 alchemical bullet by the Crucible, the Pirate King Baoli now felt that giving the Crucible another level 7 alchemical bullet at the right time might allow the Crucible to help her. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 543. Navier Port, the largest port of the Church of Oblivion, was crowded with people on the shore. Male and female believers came to wait when they learned that the fleet would return to the port today. The atmosphere of waiting was very depressing, because from many aspects, this expedition did not seem to be very smooth. Compared with the Alchemy Council, the Royal Navy of the Elba royal family was not strong, and the navy of the evil god cult was even weaker. The believers' faith was extremely firm, but faith could not help them relieve the pain after the death of their loved ones. War is cruel, and anyone may die. It is not because someone believes in evil gods that they are invulnerable. Old Bart stood behind the crowd, thinking fortunately his relatives died when he was young, otherwise he would be the one suffering now. Because all his relatives died, he dared to buy and sell anything on the black market. After all, he had nothing to lose. The ships of the Church of Oblivion appeared on the horizon. There were 25 ships when they set out, but now there are only 12 ships left. This war loss made old Bart feel that the Royal Navy of Elba was still quite powerful. Oh, he was well informed. He knew that at the critical moment of the naval battle, pirates and the Royal Knights joined the battlefield, causing the Oblivion Church to suffer heavy losses. Speaking of which, old Bart had dealt with the pirate who played an important role among the pirates. That was Rudolph the Crucible, the immortal phoenix wizard of the South Sky. When the crucible just arrived at the port of Navely, old Bart felt that the crucible would be a big man in the future. Sure enough, his vision was good. After the ship docked, it quickly entered the stage of exaggerating hatred. Compared with the expectations of the evil god, hatred can also make believers hate the heretics without faith in the northern continent more in the future. Here, old Bart didn't want to watch. One by one, the priests appeared in the crowd and began to exaggerate how cruel and vicious the people of the northern continent were. Old Bart thought it was boring. Just fight a war, as if he was fighting for justice. It was nothing more than the evil god wanting to gain the faith of the northern continent. He slowly moved backwards. He couldn't be spotted by the priests at this time. The priests were very enthusiastic. If he left carelessly, he would have a lot of trouble. He could only leave slowly. Old Bart returned to the boat market and his shop. When he sat down and just drank a sip of rum, he heard a voice behind him. "Old Bart, who sells everything, I want to buy a piece of information." Old Bart's scalp tingled instantly. He was able to survive in the black market for so long. One of the important abilities was his good memory. He could remember the people who had been in the shop more than 10 years ago. This voice, old Bart turned his head and saw a man in a cloak. He put down the rum, slowly got up, closed the door of the shop, and hung up the sign for today's rest. It didn't make any difference whether the door was closed or not. The person behind him could easily kill him. It was better to serve him well. He had some friendship in the past, so the result should not be too bad. After the wooden boards were completely sealed and the shop fell into darkness, old Bart turned around and asked, "What information do you want, customer?" "Old Bart, I want to know the information about the level 5 word spirit in Port Navely." Bart frowned instantly. "You can't ask about this. The level 5 word spirit in Port Navely is heavily protected in the church navy. And he has a sense of danger. If someone asks about him, he doesn't need evidence and will realize it immediately. I just need a general information, even a name or a portrait, a photo, or something. I'll try my best, but the price. Just make an offer, I have plenty of money. I need a level 5 magic weapon." "You dare to make an offer?" The man in the hood thought for a while and said, "Deal, I'll give you a level 5 magic weapon." To find out the information about a word spirit is not something that ordinary people can do. Old Bart has risks but also needs sufficient rewards. Old Bart looked at the man in the cloak disappearing under the floor, and then he raised his hand to wipe the cold sweat from the back of his head. This was the wizard who had severely injured the 7th level high priest. This was the blasphemer's furnace, and the blasphemer was still alive and kicking. Old Bart dared to take this order because he had lived to this day and mastered many little tricks. It's not that he had never dealt with the word spirit before. He discovered a secret of the word spirit, a secret he had never told anyone else. After leaving the store from the back door, old Bart went to a slum. In a low wooden shed, old Bart and the 2 young men whispered for a long time. After returning to the store, old Bart patiently waited for the result. The 2 young men were very ordinary people, not servants of God, nor any apostles, they were just ordinary people living in Port Navely. It was precisely because they were ordinary people that they could deal with the word spirit. All the abilities of the apostles were based on the power of the apostles, and the divination and intuition of the word spirit were the same. If the enemy did not use the power of the apostles, then the divination power of the word spirit would not be effective. Any other apostle, except for the fraudulent priest, will be passive when dealing with the word spirit. Ordinary people are different. They have nothing. In the divination power of the word spirit, ordinary people are no different from weeds on the roadside. It's just that weeds that can move have special advantages. At the port of Navely, 2 idle young men were lying on the roadside with a wooden box in front of them. There were only 3 copper shields in the wooden box, which they put in themselves, telling passers-by that there are still people who are generous. They covered their faces with straw hats, but in fact, the two of them took turns looking at the flagship of the church navy from under the straw hats. Every person who got on and off the flagship was imprinted in their minds. They didn't have many targets. First, they would focus on the fanatics, then eliminate the other apostles with obvious characteristics among the fanatics, and find the fanatics who were protected at all times, looked weak and had little fighting power. Soon, the two locked on a man who liked to wear yellow robes, who perfectly met the characteristics described above. Old Bart came to the port in person one afternoon. When he passed by the two young men, he pretended to throw two copper shields to the two young men and tried to introduce them to a job. The conversation failed, and old Bart turned his head in disappointment and prepared to leave the dock. Like everyone else, he couldn't help but look at the huge flagship a few more times and saw the fanatic walking on the gangway. When old Bart looked at him, the fanatic suddenly turned his head and looked at the shore. Old Bart turned his head quickly and didn't dare to look any more. The intuition of the word spirit was really troublesome, but he wouldn't be pulled over and beaten to death after looking at the flagship. The word spirit fanatic withdrew his gaze in confusion. There were all kinds of people in the port, and he didn't know who was staring at him just now. Yellow robe, long beard, go to the temple every 3 days, okay, I know. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 544. As an important intelligence officer in the Navy of the Church of Oblivion, the word spirit fanatic was treated very well and had a separate cabin with a round window on the flagship. This cabin was not big, but it had a separate bathroom, a table and chairs, and a bed, which was very good on a military ship. For several consecutive days, he had been doing divination at night, but he did not get any divination results, proving that someone had interfered with his divination. He had reported the situation to the senior officers of the fleet. There was a word spirit of a hostile force in the port of Navally, which made his divination ineffective. He had not left the ship for several days, and he just used this excuse not to go to the temple. He was really tired of pretending to be a fanatic. Kneeling and worshipping in the temple made him very unhappy in his heart. The Church of Oblivion launched a search throughout the port, but the enemy was very careful and did not find any traces. There was danger in the port of Navally, and the word spirit fanatic decided to hide in the ship all the time. Could anyone else break into the flagship of the level 7 High Priest? Compared with the danger of Nai port, the word spirit fanatics are more worried about the future of the Oblivion Church Navy. In order to fight against the increasingly powerful Northern Continent Alchemy Council, the Oblivion Church Navy has carried out a large-scale reform of the Navy and equipped it with the same alchemy ships as the Northern Continent Alchemy Council, but the effect is not good. It can't even beat a knight royal family in the Northern Continent that is mired in the quagmire of civil war. I don't know in which direction the Oblivion Church Navy will reform, and I don't know whether his identity and status will be affected. If he can predict when a county in the Northern Continent will become the parish of the evil god, he may be promoted with this prophecy. Turning prophecies into reality and affecting the fate of enough people is the promotion ceremony of the word spirit. This is too difficult. After the defeat in the naval battle, his last prophecy failed. Rudolph has been waiting on the shore for a week, but he hasn't waited for the word spirit fanatics to leave the flagship. Dealing with word spirits is troublesome. As long as their intuition tells them that there is danger, they will hide. Looking at the flagship, Rudolph hesitated. Is he really going to attack the flagship? Or make some decisions that go against his conscience? Between life and conscience, Rudolph decisively chose life. In the future, when he saw the old lady, he would help her cross the road. This should make up for the immorality of the wind-related forbidden technique, right? Just because the words did not go out because they felt threatened, it did not mean that others would not go out either. Rudolf would not touch the priest, because it was too dangerous. This was the parish of the Oblivion Church. He quickly set his sights on an alchemist fanatic. Fanatics were different. They did not have the power of two apostles in their bodies. It was impossible for them to be like the priests and not be protected by the temple. There were many alchemist equipment systems on the flagship, including alchemy reinforcement arrays, steam turbines, generators, circuit systems, etc., which required many alchemists. This alchemist was chosen by Rudolf because he had a special hobby. He liked to play the trumpet. Alchemists are all workaholics. Many alchemists would find some hobbies to relieve their fatigue. The trumpet sounded a bit noisy and was not convenient to play on the flagship. After a day's work, he would come to the shore, find a beach with few people, sit on the reef and play the trumpet. The melodious trumpet sounded, and I don't know which place in the northern continent the song is from, which makes the beach bring a bit of nostalgia. Not far from the beach, there stood a man who was attracted by the trumpet sound and did not leave for a long time. The sky was dark, and the moon rose from the sea in the distance. The alchemist blew for a while, and after feeling much better, he put away the trumpet and walked towards the road. The lights of the port watchtower kept scanning back and forth, making the alchemist feel very safe. "Is it done? You play really well." Hearing the praise from passers-by, the alchemist nodded and didn't want to say much. The failure of the naval battle made everyone depressed. Seeing this hooded man, the alchemist didn't feel strange, because many of the painful servants and painful priests in the southern continent had made their faces horrible, and they wore hoods every day, otherwise the honor would make people unable to eat. When the two passed by, the passerby turned his head, lifted a corner of his hood, and revealed his eyes. A huge Aquarius star power suddenly appeared, impacting the alchemist's soul. The alchemist's eyes were briefly distracted, and then returned to normal. After hearing the gunshot tonight, find a way to close the level 6 reinforcement array. Okay, master. The Aquarius forbidden technique gentle wine waiter is completed. From now on, this alchemist will become Rudolf's most obedient servant. Even if he is ordered to die, he will not delay for half a second. This is really a vicious forbidden technique, which makes Rudolf feel that his morality is slipping. Watching the alchemist go away, Rudolf still thinks that the trumpet just now is very nice, and the trumpet sound is full of emotion, but why did he join the evil god cult? Most of the time, talent and character do not match. A person who writes well may be a complete villain. A versatile woman may be a vicious slut. Late at night, the port of Navally was silent. Except for the personnel on duty, everyone else on the flagship either went ashore or stayed in their cabins. The wine waiter alchemist stayed in the equipment room, looking at the distribution box in front of him. As long as the main switch was turned off, the power system of the entire ship would be cut off, and it would take a few seconds for the backup power supply to start, which was enough to complete the master's order. The word spirit fanatic was in his cabin, unable to sleep. For some reason, he felt a little panicked. Something seemed to be going to happen tonight, but he couldn't find the clues at all, and didn't know where the problem was. He wanted to go to the deck to relax, but he immediately felt something was wrong, so he walked to the round window and prepared to look outside through the window to relax. The night view of Navally Port was nothing to see. This was not a wealthy port, or in other words, the wealth created by this port was not spent on the construction of Navally Port, nor on the people of Navally Port. There were low and chaotic houses, bad roads, and sparse lights. Just as he was looking outside, his dangerous intuition reminded him that something bad had happened. He tilted his head slightly and saw a dark figure standing between two trees on the distant shore, like a wooden stake. The distance was too far, so he couldn't see the details, but he knew clearly that the man was holding a gun and pointing it here. The word spirit fanatic was ready to turn around and quickly notify the senior officials on the ship. However, the enemy had already opened fire. Logically speaking, the word spirit fanatic believed that there was a level 6 alchemical reinforcement array on the flagship. Not to mention guns, even if there were 10 cannons on the shore, it might not be able to break the reinforcement array. But subconsciously, the word spirit fanatic believed that he was dead. The alchemical reinforcement array was not even activated, the round window was not even broken, and a bullet appeared between his eyebrows. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 545. An absolute hit. The bullet smashed the head of the word spirit fanatic, and blood sprayed all over the ceiling and walls of the cabin. If a detective came, or a person who loves detective novels came to the scene, he would judge that this was a perfect closed-room murder case, and there must be some sophisticated killing device in this cabin. This closed-room murder was flawless, and it was impossible to explain why the bullet suddenly appeared between the victim's eyebrows. The word spirit fanatic died, and he fell in front of the round window. The level 6 alchemical bullet exploded, and the whole head flew away, and the headless body fell to the floor. After his life disappeared, the power of the apostle surged to the desk, on which was placed a divination crystal ball. Under the power of the apostle, this crystal ball became the relic of the word spirit fanatic. The wine waiter alchemist in the equipment room kept the porthole open. In the silent night, he paid attention to the outside. After hearing the gunshot, he quickly closed the main switch and interrupted the circuit on the flagship. For Rudolph, it would not be difficult to assassinate the word spirit fanatic. There was no need to turn off the alchemical reinforcement array to kill the word spirit fanatic. The alchemical reinforcement array could not block an absolute hit, but it was necessary to take away the relic. Seeing the copper wire of the alchemical reinforcement array dim and various indicator lights turned off, Rudolph disappeared on the spot. After a sound explosion, a figure appeared outside the word spirit fanatic's cabin, and violent sparks suddenly gushed out around the figure, blowing up the outer wall of the cabin. Without the alchemical reinforcement array, Rudolph only had to deal with the hull itself. After the hull exploded, a starlight water snake pierced into the thick smoke, drilled into the cabin, and opened its mouth to bite the word spirit fanatic's divination crystal with a faint blue light. After another sound explosion, Rudolph had disappeared beside the flagship. Thick smoke was coming out of one side of the flagship, the hull was damaged, the alarm sounded, the backup power supply system was activated, and the alchemical reinforcement array was restarted. Everyone in the flagship rushed out of the cabin and reached the battle position. Hundreds of rockets sprayed out of the barrel and rushed towards Rudolph, forcing Rudolph to stay away from the flagship. Searchlights lit up around the Oblivion Temple in the urban area of Naviaport. This temple is located at the top of the hillside. The main body is a circle of 12 stone pillars, on which mysterious divine patterns are carved. Above the circular colonnade is a black vortex. It is said that each black vortex of the Oblivion Temple leads directly to the void abyss where the evil god is annihilated. Level 7 High Priest Canute stood in front of the temple, looking at the flagship of the port angrily, and launched a divine spell. With the blessing of the temple, the range of the divine spell of High Priest Canute is more than 10 times larger. Canute's reaction is not slow. Rudolph only used 3 sonic booms to flash and was about 1,000 meters away from the flagship. Just after Rudolph flashed for the 3rd time, a vortex suddenly appeared in the sea water under him. The vortex was of an exaggerated size, with a radius of more than 500 meters. No matter which direction Rudolph flashed, he would never be able to escape the range of this magic. If other level 7 priests used the temple's blessing to deal with Rudolph, Rudolph would really have no good way now. However, the one standing at the temple was Canute, who was seriously injured by Rudolph. Canute, who had a psychological shadow, was the easiest Canute to deal with. Rudolph really wanted to know if Canute could save his face if he was seriously injured twice by a level 5 wizard. The vortex suddenly rushed up, high around and low in the middle, like a huge mouth, wrapping Rudolph in. However, Rudolph raised his gun and aimed at the hillside next to the city of Navali, the temple on the hillside, and Canute in front of the temple. The vortex obscured the figure of the furnace, and Canute could no longer see the furnace, but he understood that no matter what obstacles there were between them, no matter how powerful the magic was, it would not be able to stop that bullet. Between killing the furnace and protecting his brow, Canute decisively chose the latter. A small vortex appeared in his brow, swallowing his brow bone and the furnace's alchemical bullet. However, 2 seconds later, Canute's roar rang out on the top of the mountain. "Furnace! You despicable villain!" The expected bullet did not appear, and the furnace was actually loaded with a blank bullet. "This is a joke, this is a humiliation, this is a mockery." The furnace used a blank bullet to scare Canute, a level 7 priest. Canute's eyebrow wound was not big this time, but blood spurted out. Canute's anger made his blood pressure rise, and the blood spurted out very far. On a small boat 5 kilometers away, Abigail was holding a candle in her hand, carefully preventing the candle from going out. The candle suddenly lit up, the candle light turned from orange to golden yellow, and in the big handful of candle light, Rudolph's figure appeared, and Abigail disappeared in Rudolph's palm. Kill with one strike, quickly escape, it feels good to be an assassin. In the temple of Port Navali, the plague carrier fanatics felt that the atmosphere was too depressing, and the high priest was livid and silent. The plague carrier carefully adjusted the atmosphere and found a point that could be said in a good way. "High priest, your injury this time is not serious, only the flesh and a little bone are injured. It seems that you must have found a way to deal with the Southern Cross Wizard. You are so powerful that even the Southern Cross Wizard who assassinated countless big figures in the legend can't do anything to you." The flesh on Canute's face twitched, but he didn't want to say anything. Could it be that these injuries were caused by himself? Could it be that the furnace was just scaring him for fun? Despicable furnace. Canute wanted to prepare a sacrifice, specifically requesting an artifact from the evil god. It was not an ordinary sacrificial artifact, but an artifact that truly carried the evil god's power, and was used to deal with the furnace. "The next time you see the furnace, you must not let him live." Rudolph could not rely on a small boat to sail on the sea. He used bat wings to fly on the sea and rushed to the nearest port in this very energy-consuming way. At this time, he missed the volcano so much, but unfortunately for the sake of concealment, the volcano did not accompany him. A week later, Rudolph arrived at a small port that belonged to a small pirate. It was unknown which pirate on the island was a subordinate of the big pirate. He entered the port with a tired look on his face, waiting for the ship market to open. He needed to rent a ship to take him to the sea where the age was sunk. With the last relic in hand, Rudolph can complete the Southern Seat secret. While waiting for the ship, Rudolph missed the volcano even more, but now it was too late for the volcano to come over. He wants to become a wizard of the Southern constellation as soon as possible, accommodate the characteristics of the 3 strongest constellations in the south, and lay a solid foundation for himself. In this way, after he is promoted, he will immediately have the strongest combat power at the same level, even the apostles of 1 level higher. Not necessarily his opponent. The boat market hasn't opened yet, and an old fisherman is waiting at the intersection with a fish bucket. Rudolph stepped forward, took the fish bucket, and prepared to help her across the road. "No need, young man, I'll just wait here. My wife will be here soon. Whatever you need, you can just wait for your husband on the other side of the road." But the direction is reversed, so he has to push the car to turn it around. "Just go over there. It will make me feel better." The old fisherman didn't dare to say anything. This was a pirate port after all. The young man didn't look like a bad guy, but how could a pirate judge her by his appearance? She obediently was helped to the other side of the road by the young man. She looked at the back of the young man walking away and murmured in her mind, What kind of habit is this? He had to help her cross the road. Rudolph lowered his eyelids, not daring to imagine what would happen to the cupbearer and alchemist. Although he defected to the evil god cult, he played the trumpet well. If he's lucky, he probably won't be found out. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 546. You are going to Eagle's Beak Peninsula. Yes. The sea chart shows that the Argo wreck is located in the west. If the destination is Eagle's Beak Peninsula, it will just pass by the Argo wreck. Rudolph found the middleman in the ship market and told the middleman his destination. He has already found out that this pirate port belongs to Eric the Red, but he is not going to reveal his identity because he does not want to reveal that he is going to complete the secret ceremony of the South Sky Argo. Just find a ship at random, stay quietly in the cabin, and go to the target sea area. The South Sky is composed of 4 constellations. The starfield area is particularly large. It is the largest constellation in the southern sky. The corresponding direct area is also very wide. Just find a corner to complete the ceremony and no one can find it. The middleman brought Rudolph to a medium-sized passenger ship, and Rudolph said to the crew, a first-class cabin ticket with a private bathroom. 5 Carolingian silver shields. How can the Elba silver shield not work? Elba silver shields have depreciated to such a degree. Have you ever seen a loaf of bread for 1 silver shield? This is the Elba silver shield. Or you can give me the Elba silver coin. The Elba royal family issued silver coins, although it sounds a bit old, but it is very valuable. Wait a minute, I'll look for it. I don't have the Elba royal family silver coins. Rudolph opened his wallet and hesitated. The crew said impatiently, don't take the ship if you don't have money. It's not that I don't have money, it's that I don't have such a small face value. After a few seconds, Rudolph gave up. He took out a 1 gold shield from his wallet and handed it to the crew. Carolingian gold shield. The crew's expressions became much more exciting. Oh, dear sir, do you have any requirements for the location of your cabin? We will try to arrange a room for you away from the noise. Close to the restaurant. The crew understood that this was a rich man who was reluctant to leave the cabin, which was troublesome. If they didn't want to leave the cabin, how could they make money for other services? After boarding the ship, Rudolph came to his cabin. He was very satisfied with the location and interior furnishings of the cabin. After lying on the bed, he waited for the ship to sail. Footsteps kept ringing in the corridor. The ship had good business, and many people went to the Eagle's Beak Peninsula. At lunchtime, Rudolph left the cabin and prepared to go to the restaurant. He saw a woman next door, wearing a hood like Rudolph, but she was straight and had undergone body training. She saw Rudolph wearing a hood and turned around and walked towards the restaurant. It was scary to see a hooded and unidentified person in this closed hull. Rudolph felt that her fear was correct. If Rudolph revealed his identity, he would scare her to death. This is the dining room of the first-class cabin, which is worse than the first-class cabin, but better than the second-class cabin. Most of the people here are of high quality and there is no noise. Before eating, Rudolph saw a newspaper rack here, so he took a few newspapers and ate while reading. Seeing the title of the newspaper, Rudolph guessed that the captain of this ship should be the ship owner in the Elba Royal Territory, because the newspapers are all about the Elba Civil War, and they are written in the tone of royal nobles. The date of these newspapers is about a week ago, proving that the ship has traveled for more than a week from the Elba Royal Territory to here. The Alchemy Council did not completely prohibit the navigation and trade of civilian ships. Even war cannot delay their alchemists from making money. The Elba royal family and the evil god navy had just fought a war. This ship would rather dock at the pirate port and pay huge port fees and tugboat fees than go to the port of the evil god. As expected, Rudolph soon found the news of the naval battle that had just ended in a newspaper. Breaking good news. The Royal Navy's Eastern Fleet defeated the evil God Navy coalition. This report used a lot of space to describe how the Royal Navy bravely fought against the evil God Navy and how many knights were promoted on the battlefield. Rudolph also saw the name of Kedrick, the fourth heir to the Marquis of Golden Anchor, who was promoted on the battlefield and became a level 5 knight, becoming the most dazzling knight on the flank of the naval battle. Unfortunately, after reading the whole article, I didn't see the name of any pirate. Even the pirate King Baoli didn't appear in the article. The resolution of the pirate conference was a bit self-indulgent. The Royal Navy was very grateful to the pirates, but it would not tell anyone. Winning the naval battle with the help of pirates was somewhat dishonorable. The second article turned out to be a short biography of Kedrick, which surprised Rudolph. Kedrick was promoted several times in just a few years and was recognized by the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy was even willing to endorse him, promote him, and give him great honor. In Kedrick's growth biography, Rudolph unexpectedly saw his own name. A friend of the Golden Anchor family, Kedrick's life mentor, the wise Rudolph, helped Kedrick gain a foothold in the manor on the southern continent, and later led his fleet to help Kedrick in 2 naval battles. The more Rudolph read, the more he wanted to laugh, because according to the description of this report, Rudolph seemed like an old man, a mentor, and a wise man. It felt that he was not worthy of these 2 titles before he was 60 years old. According to the tradition of the chosen apostles of God, the word wizard would not appear in any official description. The biography talked a lot about Rudolph, but in the end, it did not mention Rudolph's identity and ability. Several other newspapers focused on the situation on the front line on land. The most important piece of information is that the Royal Knights have finished their 2-year training and preparation. Some of them went to the Royal Navy's Eastern Fleet, and some were sent to the front line. This is an inspiring news. After fighting with the evil God Navy, the Royal Knights obtained some key intelligence and believed that the Royal Knights did not have to keep all of them to deal with the evil God Navy. The evil God Navy was weaker than they expected. After the front line received support from the Royal Knights, it will definitely be able to form a strong force in some places and tear open a gap. On the remaining newspaper, there was a news that the Meguen Empire sent a foreign minister to pay a state visit to the capital of Elba. The Meguen Empire is located at the northernmost end of the northern continent. Now it has finally officially expressed its position on the Elba civil war and supported the Elba royal family. Perhaps they saw the possibility of the Elba royal family's victory and no longer needed to worry about the Elba Alchemy Council. After putting down the newspaper, Rudolph concentrated on his meal. He was a little worried about the alchemist. When would the alchemist be able to develop long-distance radio communication technology? With this primitive means of information transmission, many things would take a month for people in other places to know. It was too slow. During the time he was at sea, he had no idea about the northern continent, nor did he know what was happening in Fabro. After the Carolingian Kingdom Intelligence Agency knew about Rudolph's performance in the naval battle, they should be better to Fabro. Rudolph noticed someone was looking at him, and turned to look at the woman sitting in the corner. This woman was secretly wary of everyone in the restaurant, and it was unknown what she was wary of. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 547. After sailing on the sea for a week, Rudolph walked onto the deck at night, looked up at the starry sky, and finally entered the star field of Argo. If he wanted to accommodate the characteristics of Vela or Carina, he needed to reach the direct shooting area of these constellations. Argo is special. As long as he enters the direct shooting area of any of the 4 constellations, it will belong to the range of Argo. After accommodating the characteristics of Argo, Rudolph no longer has any desires in the southern sky constellations. People can't be too greedy. They can't accommodate 42 southern sky constellations. That would be too cruel for other apostles. After observing for a while, Rudolph thought that he would almost enter the direct shooting area of Vela tomorrow, and then complete the secret formula as soon as possible. When he carries the characteristics of the 3 strongest constellations in the southern sky, wouldn't it be easy to plan a level 6 water wizard relic of the ancient Sea Wizard Association? The next day, Rudolph patiently waited for the arrival of night. However, 3 ships appeared in the distance, breaking the tranquility on the passenger ship. Rudolph looked at the ship from a distance, feeling a little bitter. Couldn't he just do one thing smoothly? There was a noisy sound outside the door. The crew members knocked on the door of the room in turn in the corridor, asking everyone to go to the deck to accept the inspection of the Elba Constitutional Army. Civilian commercial activities were not completely banned during the war, but the inspections became more and more strict. When Rudolph walked onto the deck, he found that many people had already come to the deck. Dozens of officers and soldiers came from the ship to the merchant ship, making the deck look extremely crowded. The soldiers of the Constitutional Army held guns, and the rockets in the distance were aimed at the merchant ship. The cannons were also pushed out of the muzzles. The artillery squad stood next to the main gun on the ship, ready to fire at any time. According to the order of the Elba Alchemy Council, we are here to arrest wizards. Everyone take off their hoods. Those who disobey will be shot directly. Rudolph looked at the 3 ships, 180-gun ship and 260-gun ships, and was a little unsure what the Elba Constitutional Army was going to do. That's it? Are they here to hunt witches right now? Is there a major malfunction in the intelligence system of the Elba Alchemy Council? Why do they think that 3 ships like this can hunt witches? Is Rudolph so insignificant in the Elba Alchemy Council? It is daytime now. With the help of puppets, Rudolph has several times more star power than other wizards, which is enough for him to quickly solve the troubles in front of him. Unfortunately, his identity has been exposed, so he can't take this ship. He will have to fly non-stop until the evening. Flying on the boundless sea is very tiring, and he can no longer lie in bed and wait leisurely. On the ship of the Elba Constitution Army, a team of witch hunters came out of the cabin. It looks like professionals have appeared, and this is the main force of witch hunting. Everyone take off your hoods. The Constitution Army emphasized again, but Rudolph was still indifferent, because he found that there were many people who did not take off their hoods like him. This is surrogacy, and many people are unwilling to show their faces. The painful believers who had their faces moved were ugly, and the faces after self-mutilation made other people physically uncomfortable. The faces of zombies were no different from those of corpses, and they were easy to identify, and they didn't want others to see them. The abstinence priests didn't want others to see their faces, and some men insisted that they could see the contrast temptation on their cold faces. The abstinence priests were really distressed. They clearly had rejection written on every face, but they still couldn't resist the headache-inducing desires of men. It is said that a man in a certain place would be in heat even if he was given a female lizard. There are many situations like these. In this chaotic world, many people have the habit of not showing their faces. Many people around were wearing hoods, so Rudolph was not in a hurry. The Constitutional Army saw that no one responded to their orders again and again, and an officer waved his hand and threw out a rattan whip, which turned out to be a druid officer. The druid in a shirt made Rudolph a little uncomfortable. The rattan whip hit the head of the hooded man closest to him, knocking off the man's hood, revealing the face full of scars under the hood. These scars do not give people a fierce feeling, but make people pity him. Obviously, this is a painful believer. The captain could not bear it anymore, and he quickly explained to the lieutenant colonel beside him, "Officer, we are just a passenger ship. There is absolutely no Elba nobles on this ship. Please let us go." As he spoke, the captain handed 2 envelopes to the lieutenant colonel. One of the 2 envelopes was very thick, which contained money. The other was very thin, which should be a letter of introduction issued by the captain's backer. The greed of the alchemists made them feel no psychological burden when asking for bribes in public. Alchemists have no concept of bribery. In the areas controlled by the Alchemy Council, they even disguised bribery as election donations. If you agree with my ideas during the election, you can donate a large sum of money to help me win the election. When I become a member of parliament or even the speaker, I will also recognize your cause and help you grow bigger and stronger. All this is reasonable and legal. Otherwise, why do you say that the members of parliament are fighting for those positions? Do they really represent the people? One of the reasons why Claude was well received when he was the sheriff was that he was not so interested in asking for bribes. This led to the patrolmen of the Lehman Town police station rarely asking for bribes, so they had a good reputation. In the current situation, the Constitutional Army has no psychological burden to accept money from foreign ships. After receiving the money, the lieutenant colonel did not look at the letter of introduction, but said to the Druid officer, "Take a few less, as long as they are obedient." The Druid officer shouted loudly, "Got it? Sir." He really pulled a few less, but each one was pulled very hard. When he pulled the fifth one, the others took off their hoods obediently. Rudolph also took off his hood. He looked at the witch hunters, wondering what means the witch hunters had prepared to hunt him. Rudolph noticed his neighbor next door, the woman who was always wary of everyone around her, and she also took off her hood. Exquisite frameless glasses, a slim-fitting swallowtail skirt, a white shirt and white trousers that fit her calves. This woman was surprisingly beautiful. Looking at her swallowtail skirt, Rudolph suddenly thought of the trading host of the Black Gold Institute, who also liked swallowtails or swallowtail skirts. A hunter took out a whistle. Rudolph had seen this kind of whistle. The sound was an alchemist's alchemical product, which could allow the sound to carry the power of alchemy and attack the enemy. When the whistle sounded, everyone covered their ears in pain. This was a way for the hunter to quickly identify the apostles. If you want to fight against the alchemical noise, you must use the power of the apostles. Most of the people on the ship fell down. They were ordinary people without the power of apostles. The more than 20 people standing were apostles. The witch hunter took out a starstone. Everyone, input the power of apostles into the starstone. If you hesitate or refuse, we will treat you as a wizard and kill you on the spot. Those apostles who were not wizards walked forward obediently and input the power of apostles into the starstone. Their apostle power could not stimulate the starstone, and there would be no blue light of stars on the starstone. In the end, only Rudolph and the woman next door, who was always on guard against others, were indifferent. Seeing the hesitation of the last two people, more witch hunters appeared on the deck, and various alarms sounded on the ships of the Constitutional Army, ready to enter combat at any time. The remaining two people are likely to be wizards, and it is time to close the net. Rudolph sighed and walked towards the starstone. His whereabouts were indeed exposed. I don't know if the Elba Alchemy Council has dispatched the level 6 word spirit. Rudolph was so careful that he could tell that his divination certificate had never been leaked. I wonder how the Elba Alchemy Council found out. At the same time, he was also on guard. The forces in front of him were definitely not enough to kill the furnace. They must have a backup plan. Rudolph had been observing for a long time and had not discovered their backup plan. Is this backup plan so hidden? When Rudolph's hand was about to touch the starstone, a woman behind him suddenly shouted, "The person you are looking for is me. I am Celine, the wizard of the Black Gold Institute who has an affair with the Elba nobles." Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 548. Rudolph turned his head and looked behind him. He was stunned. Wasn't he the protagonist today? Seeing the witch hunters look like they were expecting this, Rudolph found that the witch hunt was real, but they were not hunting him, but the woman behind him. Accustomed to the protagonist's bad luck, he was suddenly involved in someone else's witch hunt, which made him feel overwhelmed and a little uncomfortable. In the past, he was always the target of others, and he felt a little lost. The witch hunters have changed and have a new love. He turned his head to look at the wizard Celine and admired her courage. Rudolph saw Celine's clothes and thought of the transaction host of the Black Gold Institute. He guessed correctly that this woman was indeed a wizard of the Black Gold Institute. For Celine, Rudolph was a passerby, a strange wizard. When Rudolph was about to be exposed, Celine was able to attract firepower to her without harming innocent people. If the witch hunters found another wizard while looking for her, it would not be a matter of whipping a few times. They would not mind burning one more wizard to death. A wizard who has an affair with a noble. You can't escape the witch hunters' pursuit. After finding the wizard they were looking for, the witch hunters did not rush forward rashly, but stepped back a few steps and suppressed with long-range firepower first. I don't know when the witch hunters actually set up 4 machine guns and fired at the wizard Celine. Other witch hunters set up alchemical shielding arrays around them. Under the control of the alchemists, the copper wires quickly pierced out and continued to fall into place at a very fast speed. Several witch hunters even threw alchemical grenades at Celine, which made the captain cry bitterly. His deck, his ship, and his railings were all destroyed by this group of constitutional army and witch hunters. A good voyage was actually involved in witch hunting, which made the captain regret it to death. He should not have taken the risk earlier. The witch hunter closest to Rudolph was also not idle. He raised his revolver and pointed it at Rudolph's forehead. Rudolph said, "Young man, don't point at other people's eyebrows all the time. It will kill people." Rudolph was very familiar with the matter of aiming at the eyebrows, so he was the most sensitive. But unfortunately, the witch hunter did not listen to the advice. He felt that the person who was dawdling in front of him and didn't come to test the witch was also a wizard, and he would never make a wrongful conviction. The witch hunter pulled the trigger, but found that his fingers could only twitch in a small range. He was actually poisoned. At some point, a finger-thick starlight water snake came out of his collar, and his collar was already blue and purple. The duel between the two here was so hidden that there was no sound at all. No one noticed that a witch hunter was poisoned. Their eyes were all focused on the wizard Celine. After the smoke dissipated and the machine gun finished firing a belt, everyone could see the situation of the wizard Celine. Celine was shocked to find that the defensive magic weapon she took out could not be used because she was surrounded by 2 starlight water snakes. The 2 starlight water snakes formed a barrel around her. Neither bullets nor grenades could break through the defense of the starlight water snakes. She looked up at the heads of the 2 snakes. Yalan snake head spit out its tongue and looked down at her. There were many starlight water snakes crawling not only beside Celine, but also on the ground. The witch hunters were stunned. What kind of ability is this? It was still an older witch hunter who reminded with a trembling voice, Southern Sky Water Snake. This is a wizard of the Southern Sky Water Snake. The major of the Constitutional Army was shocked at first, and then heaved a sigh of relief. Southern Sky Water Snake, it's good that it's not Southern Sky Phoenix. The major of the Constitutional Army knew that the most powerful wizard on the Saragosi was the Southern Sky Phoenix wizard, Rudolph the Crucible. The Crucible is a level 5 wizard who can seriously injure level 7 apostles, and is almost the strongest South Sky wizard in recorded history. The witch hunters who have more intelligence obviously don't think so, because they know that the Crucible contains the characteristics of several South Sky constellations, one of which is the characteristics of the South Sky Water Snake. They turned their heads one by one and looked at Rudolph, not even caring about the wizard Celine. Rudolph pointed to the ground and said, "You can hunt witches if you want, but why hurt innocent people?" If it weren't for Rudolph's starlight water snake, many passengers lying on the ground would have been killed by the Constitutional Army and witch hunters. Machine gun bullets and grenade steel balls are not something ordinary passengers can resist. The captain was grateful, with tears hanging on his chin, and he wished he could kowtow to the South Sky Water Snake Wizard right now. Are all wizards so kind now? One doesn't want to implicate other wizards, and the other doesn't want to see innocent people hurt. Alchemical Shielding Array. Open. The witch hunter captain shouted in a hurry, hoping that the shielding array would open quickly, because he saw that the appearance of the South Sky Water Snake Wizard was so similar to the furnace in the intelligence. The captain had never thought that he would encounter a furnace in the waters of the Elba Alchemical Council. Isn't the furnace active in the eastern waters of the Sarago Sea? The alchemical shielding array opened very quickly, and soon the ship was wrapped in the shielding array, and the star power inside was blocked and interfered. However, the witch hunters saw another painful scene. Some copper wires appeared in the hands of the South Sky Water Snake Wizard at some point. These copper wires flew out and connected some copper wires of the alchemical shielding array. I don't know what the South Sky Water Snake Wizard did. The alchemical shielding array was like a short circuit, and the entire system was instantly disordered, with electric sparks everywhere. Don't mention the alchemical shielding array. Even if you take it out to block the signal tower, it will be useless to me. In Fabreau City, Rudolph asked the director of the Tribunal Equipment Department who had joined him to develop an anti-seal array for him. He is now an expert in this field. Furnace. You are the furnace. The group of witch hunters finally confirmed that the wizard in front of them was the furnace, the South Sky Phoenix Wizard who affected the balance of war between the Elba Royal Navy and the Evil God Navy with one move. A water snake as thick as a person appeared and swallowed the poisoned witch hunter in one gulp. After destroying the divination certificate, Rudolph said to the Constitution Army and the witch hunters, "I don't have any big hatred with you, the Elba Alchemy Council, and I don't want to make enemies so quickly. I won't kill you. You 3 ships, sail east from now on, don't look back, and return in 3 days." Rudolph and the Elba Alchemy Council are not in the same camp, but there is no need to kill everyone in the Elba Alchemy Council. They don't have a direct grudge yet. The major of the Constitutional Army and the captain of the witch hunters looked at each other in bewilderment. They actually got an unexpected and good ending. Please rest assured. We will never return within 3 days. We will not look for this ship, and we will not disturb you. After the 3 ships left and sent off the captain who thanked him profusely and took the initiative to upgrade his cabin, Rudolph asked Celine who was standing in his cabin. "Tell me, how did you get wanted? You left the territory of the Elba Alchemy Council, and why did you come back with this ship?" Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 549. My name is Celine. I was originally the host of the Black Gold Exchange in Richmond, a remote city in Essen County, Eagles Beak Province of the Elba Alchemy Council. In a certain transaction, the Black Gold Exchange traded a piece of information. That piece of information was about the production capacity of our fuse factory. This information was judged by the Court of Inquiry as betraying the secrets of the Council. The fuse is a very small part on the shell. The nobles can judge the logistical capacity of the Alchemy Council by the number of fuses. The entire Black Gold Exchange was targeted for cleaning, and I escaped by luck. Then why did you come back? This ship departed from the Elba Royal territory, circled the southern waters of the Sarago Sea, and carefully headed to the Eagle's Beak Peninsula. You have escaped, why do you still want to go to the Eagle's Beak Peninsula? You are so weak. Are you thinking of revenge on the Alchemy Council? Rudolph did not release the false news that there was a giant treasure on the Eagle's Beak Peninsula. Now he is just building momentum for the giant treasure. It is not time to harvest it yet, and this black gold wizard should not know about it. I'm sorry, Mr. Furnace, you saved me, but the next thing needs to be kept secret. Please forgive me for not being able to tell you the reason for returning to the Eagle's Beak Peninsula. Rudolph nodded, not forcing, okay, I won't ask too much. Since we are all wizards, I will help you once. I wish you good luck, Miss Celine. When I first became a wizard, I got a lot of help from the Black Gold Institute. If I trade in your Black Gold Institute in the future, I hope the handling fee can be discounted. Of course. If Mr. Furnace enters the Black Gold Institute, it will be the glory of the Black Gold Institute. You are now the idol of all wizards. After all, not all wizards are like you, same. Same what? Same arrogant and not dead. Is this what you envy me for? Looking at Celine's admiring eyes, Rudolph felt that other wizards might really think so. Rudolph has indeed been a little arrogant recently. Not only did he change the power balance of the pirate assembly, but he also intervened in the naval battle between the evil god cult and the Royal Navy. Don't let him accommodate the characteristics of Argo. If he accommodates the characteristics of Argo, he will be more arrogant. As night fell, the passenger ship finally entered the direct shooting area of Vila. He came to the deck and prepared to leave. However, someone was more anxious than him. Rudolph saw Celine fly away from the passenger ship first. Since Celine is the host of the Black Gold Trading, she must be a Libra wizard. The Wind Libra wizard has mastered many wind magics and can fly quickly without the Batwing magic weapon. This is convenient. The Batwings are too big and take up some space. Rudolph can roughly guess the purpose of this wizard. She should want to be promoted to become a wizard of the Southern Sky Vila, and then return to Richmond City for revenge. Rudolph left the passenger ship after Celine flew away. I don't know if the captain will be afraid or happy to find that the furnace has left tomorrow. Although the sea is the same in all directions, with rolling waves, the ship's route is relatively fixed. Rudolph is going to stay away from the route to avoid interference with the promotion. Every time I was promoted in the past, I was surrounded by people. I hope there will be no accidents this time. Just when Rudolph had just found a sea area with less wind and waves, he suddenly looked up in the direction of the Vela constellation. A huge star power descended from the Vela constellation. This star power was so surging, proving that there was a wizard being promoted nearby. It turned out that it felt like this to sense the promotion of other wizards not far away, and it was still very easy to sense. The star power of the constellation contains huge energy, which can completely transform a level 4 wizard into a level 5 wizard. A huge wooden board appeared, and Rudolph took it out of the insect nest space in order to draw a star hexagram on the sea surface. He just took out the star stone, but the movement in his hand stopped. The star power in the distance suddenly stopped. He frowned and looked in the direction of the turbulent star power. It was impossible for Celine to complete the promotion in such a short time. Interrupted. After thinking about it, Rudolph put away the star stone and prepared to go and see. Don't save her in the daytime, and she was killed by witch hunters at night, then wouldn't he have saved her in vain? Rudolph flew quickly along the sea, looking for Celine, hoping that she could hold on until Rudolph arrived. Soon, Rudolph saw the two parties in a stalemate. 3 small speedboats surrounded Celine, and Celine was suspended in the air with her hands covering her shoulders. Her body was very unstable and she was about to fall on the water. Blood was seeping out of her hands. Rudolph observed and found that this was a new wave of witch hunters, not the one he encountered during the day. Rudolph emphasized to the group of witch hunters during the day that they were not allowed to return within 3 days. His threat was very useful. Rudolph believed that the witch hunters would not dare to come back. He approached from the water and hid on the back of a speedboat. As soon as he hid, Rudolph was surprised to hear his name. Wizard Celine, blame the furnace if you want to blame. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be chasing you so closely. What does this have to do with Mr. Furnace? Celine's face was also full of confusion, wondering why the witch hunter mentioned Mr. Crucible. The case of the Carolingian court tells all witch hunters that they must not let a level 4 wizard escape, otherwise a level 4 wizard will escape to the South Road or Saragosse and be promoted. The revenge he returns will be unbearable for the court. Rudolph was stunned. It turned out that he was really related to him. It seems that his deeds have made the courts of justice in various places more vigilant. Originally, you could have escaped, but you are a level 4 wizard. Now, any level 4 wizard who escapes will directly enter the field of vision of the Eagle's Beak Province Court of Justice, and the level 4 wizard incident will be raised to a higher level. The witch hunters who come to deal with you are enough to kill a level 5 apostle. Go to the furnace of hate, it is he who narrowed your path and made you enjoy the pursuit treatment that you should not have. Rudolph was angry when he heard it from a distance. If these witch hunters were afraid of the wizard's revenge, they should just say they were afraid. Why did they bring up his name, making it seem like Rudolph harmed other level 4 wizards? Rudolph, the king of rolls, alone increased the difficulty for level 4 wizards to be promoted to level 5. I wonder if other wizards can withstand the current intensity of witch hunting. Maybe other wizards suffered because of Rudolph. Fortunately, Rudolph did not have a strong sense of morality, otherwise he would be guilty to death. Celine's promotion was interrupted, and she was no match for many witch hunters. Even if she was promoted, the ability of the Vela constellation might not help her defeat these witch hunters. The witch hunters were telling the truth. The witch hunters they met during the day were peripheral search personnel. The witch hunters guarding the Promotion C area were the ones who really wanted to catch Celine. Rudolph believed that the Vela secret formula had been leaked, and the Elba Alchemy Council had mastered the secret formula, so they could wait and see. Speaking of which, we have to thank the furnace. The tribunal has increased its funding by half because of his existence. You should also thank the furnace for letting you see the true strength of the tribunal. 3 level 5 apostles suddenly attacked the wizard Celine. However, more than a dozen starlight water snakes rushed out from the sea, and all the means of attack were accurately blocked. Since becoming a Southern Cross wizard, Rudolph's intuition has become much stronger after accommodating the word spirit relics several times, even stronger than when he used Larry's ability. After a sound explosion, Rudolph flashed and appeared beside Celine. Why did you mention my name? It's like I killed Celine, making me feel so guilty. Can I not take action? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 550. The Trial Hall of the Eagle Beak Province keeps an eye on all level 4 wizards and prevents them from being promoted. This is to prevent another furnace from appearing, not to fight against the furnace. The witch hunter captain's face was ashen. This witch hunt was enough to deal with level 5 wizards, but they were definitely no match for the furnace. Who is the furnace? He is a wizard who contains the characteristics of the Phoenix and the Southern Cross in the creation theory. He is the strongest Southern wizard in history. He can no longer be regarded as a level 5 wizard. He is a demon that has surpassed the level 5 wizard. A starlight water snake appeared behind Rudolph's shoulder, stuck out its head, spat out a snake message, and stared at the witch hunter opposite. Those cold vertical pupils made the witch hunter captain shiver all over. A revolver appeared in Rudolph's hand. This gun was filled with level 5 poisoned bullets. When he saw the revolver, the witch hunter captain knew that he was going to die. 3 gunshots were fired, and 3 level 5 witch hunters were shot. After the captain was shot, he fell into the seawater. His purple body floated up and down in the seawater, frightening the other witch hunters. Your relics are of no use to me, and I don't want to waste bullets on you. Let's go. I feel upset just looking at the witch hunters. How can there be an organization like yours? From the tone of the furnace, it seems that he is not ready to kill everyone. A bold witch hunter turned around and ran back to the speedboat. Seeing that he successfully landed on the deck, the other witch hunters turned around in a hurry and flew back. Etc. The furnace spoke again, and with this voice, the dozens of level 4 witch hunters in the air did not dare to move, turn around, or continue to run away. Give me a message when you go back. Tell your superiors that if you hunt witches, hunt witches. Don't hunt witches in my name. What do you mean by in order to prevent the next melting pot? If I hear such words again, let you, the director of the trial hall, get ready. I have to test whether his eyebrows are hard enough. After hearing what the furnace said, these witch hunters fled in a hurry and drove away on a speedboat. 3 starlight water snakes returned to Rudolph with 2 level 5 alchemist relics and 1 level 5 vampire relic. Since the furnace appeared, Celine began to treat herself. According to the information from the Black Gold Institute, the furnace is powerful and it will be easy to deal with these witch hunters. But seeing 3 level 5 witch hunters die in less than 2 seconds with 3 consecutive shots still made Celine feel unreal. Is it so easy? And those 3 level 5 relics, why does the furnace have a disappointed expression on its face? That's a total of 3 level 5 relics. I found that the number of priests in the witch hunters has decreased a lot. It seems that many priests have returned to the southern continent. This is not a good phenomenon. After hearing what the furnace was mumbling and seeing the furnace's serious expression, Celine found that there was a big gap between what the furnace was thinking and what she was thinking. When Rudolph turned around, he saw that Celine had simply taken care of her wounds. Celine, do you want to be promoted today? Promotion, now that you have discovered it, there is no need to hide it. While the witch hunters have left, it will be safe tonight. I must become a level 5 wizard as soon as possible. Oh, then you can be promoted, and I won't pry into your secret skills. The promotion of a wizard is a secret, and he will not let others see his secret formula and the relics he has collected. Mr. Furnace, the Vila secret formula has been mastered by the witch hunter, Celine said. I have nothing to repay you. If you don't mind wasting your time, you can watch my promotion. I will reveal my secrets to you without reservation, as long as you are willing. Rudolph coughed. Why did he think wrongly? If you want to show some other secrets, Rudolph is quite willing to see it. If there is nothing interesting about the Vila secret, it is better to see something else. However, it is rare to watch the promotion of other wizards, and Rudolph did not refuse. Since you sincerely invite me, let me take a look. Celine nodded and began to prepare her secret form. She took out a star stone and drew a sail hexagram in the void. Rudolph saw her behavior and felt a little stupid. It turns out that there is such a little trick. You can actually draw the star stone in the void, and it can be completed by giving the star stone powder a small wind witchcraft suspension technique. When he was on land, he had been looking for big flat rocks. When he came to the sea, he also deliberately brought a large wooden board into the insect nest space. Such a comparison made Rudolph look stupid and stupid. Rudolph already possesses all the secret techniques of the southern constellations, but in some small skills, he is still not as good as the inherited wizard school like Black Gold. Rudolph looked at the sail hexagram and felt that there were many redundant lines on this hexagram, which was somewhat different from the hexagram given to Rudolph in the star chart. He knew this as early as when he watched Ursula making witchcraft in the port of Cordoue. Due to the suppression of other forces for thousands of years, many wizards' knowledge has been continuously lost and restored. During this period, much of the knowledge has undergone mutations and changes. Mistake. He didn't remind him aloud that these extra lines would waste some star power, but they would have no other impact. After drawing the 6-pointed star, Celine took out 3 relics of Vila, the main relic, a level 5 druid relic, the secondary relic, a level 5 alchemist relic, and a level 5 vampire relic. She also cast the suspension spell on the 3 relics, causing them to float in the 3 ring patterns in the center of the hexagram. Starstone hexagram, relics, location, all 3 are available. Rudolph looked up at Vila. Vila has already responded. The secret formula on the ground and the Vila above his head have echoed, and the rich star power is ready to move. Selene floated in the center of the hexagram and began to draw the star power. With the furnace, no one can do anything to her. If the furnace wants to do something to her, she can't resist. The huge star power appeared again. Vela, which has existed since the emergence of the universe, has stored an unknown amount of star power. It is endless. As long as a little bit of it is dropped, it will be enough for Selene to become a level 5 wizard. The constellation is so mysterious. Rudolph turned his head and looked at Mars. Mars and the constellation are both hanging in the night sky. I don't know what secrets Mars has that made Ptolemy immortal. Mars has also existed for billions of years. For the apostles, the energy on Mars is inexhaustible. The wizards who study constellations and the words of the planets seem to be closer to the essence of power than other apostles. Why can the silver snake be called the three apostles of destiny together with the wizard and word spirit? When Rudolph was pondering these obscure secrets without a clue, the star power poured into Selene's body, and the three relics disintegrated, turning into the power of the apostles entering Selene's body, transforming Selene together with the star power of Vela. Then, the blue starlight dissipated, the six-pointed star of Vela disappeared, the relics disappeared, the star pillar descended from Vela disappeared, and all the energy entered Selene's body. Congratulations, Selene, you have become a level 5 Southern Sky Vela wizard. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 551. After watching Selene's promotion ceremony, Rudolph asked Selene to retreat far away. Selene had no complaints about this. This was a furnace, and there were so many secrets on it that she couldn't pry into it. Even if everyone was a level 5 wizard, the gap between level 5 wizards was sometimes greater than the gap between people and cats. On the deserted sea, black waves rolled, and the sound of the waves made the night restless. Rudolph followed Selene and drew the first constellation hexagram, the sail hexagram, in the void. Selene must not know that he brought a large piece of wood to draw the hexagram, which would affect his image as a wizard master. After drawing the sail hexagram, Rudolph did not stop his hand. He began to draw the stern hexagram to the west of the sail hexagram, followed by the carina hexagram to the south, and finally the compass hexagram to the east. These four constellations are the four constellations that make up the constellation Argo Austrinus. The South Ship, also known as the Argo, once appeared in history, and finally disappeared in history, leaving only a legendary ship. Many people have collected the three secrets of Vela, Poop, and Carina in history. The most difficult one is the compass secret, which rarely appears. The relics needed by compass are also rare, which are the level 5 word spirit and the level 5 fraud priest relic. If Rudolph had not swept the evil god's nest in the naval battle, it would be difficult for him to get a level 5 fraud priest relic. As for the level 5 word spirit relic, with Rudolph's current strength, he had to risk entering the Annihilation Parish and take the chestnuts from the fire to get it. Rudolph took out 12 relics and placed them in the hexagram ring of the corresponding constellation one by one. It seems that it is very difficult to complete the South Ship secret. Knowing 4 secrets and finding 12 relics, you can't be impatient. You must complete 4 secrets at one time. How can ordinary wizards have such ability? Even as strong as Rudolph, he only had enough to complete the Argo secret after he harvested a large number of relics in a naval battle. Rudolph looked up at the starry sky and the 4 constellations. He raised his hands, and his own star power flowed out from his hands. The dark blue star power flowed towards the hexagrams of the 4 constellations like clouds. When his star power came into contact with the 12 relics, the apostle power in the relics overflowed from the relics. At the same time, the 4 constellations in the starry sky began to throb at the same time. Selene, who was far away, suddenly looked up and looked in the direction of Vela. She had just become a wizard of Vela, so she was very sensitive to the star power of Vela. Vela was restless again tonight and was ready to drop the star power. However, This feeling was very different from when she was promoted herself. Vila was much more active and irritable than when she was promoted. The star power in the starry sky suddenly fell, and Celine couldn't help but cover her eyes, as if this would make her feel better. The star power is too huge. Several times more star power than Celine had ever felt before. This star power made her body retreat uncontrollably, and the wind control characteristics of the Vela constellation that she had just acquired could not keep her body steady. Looking at the starry sky through her fingers, this is not the star power of the Vela constellation, or rather, this is not just the star power of the Vela constellation. Rudolph also wanted to hide it from Celine, but unless he killed her, the movement of completing the secret formula was very large, and the star power falling from the constellation could be felt by ordinary wizards. Celine felt the other three star powers, but could not distinguish the details. She suddenly remembered a legend. According to the legend, one of the three strongest constellations in the southern sky is the Argo, which is not among the 42 constellations in the southern sky. The Argo is composed of 4 constellations. 4 star powers rushed into Rudolph's body from the top of his head. He felt that his bones were broken after containing the relics of the night several times, and he even heard a cracking sound like a bone crack. Completing 4 secret formulas at the same time and containing the star power of 4 constellations at the same time is too much of a burden on the body. This uncomfortable feeling quickly escalated, and a more painful feeling invaded Rudolph's consciousness. Under the impact of the 4 constellation star power, the star power overflowed from Rudolph's body and rushed to the hexagram of their own constellation. After the constellation star power entered the hexagram, the 12 relics were instantly shattered, and the apostle power in the relics was engulfed by the constellation star power and rolled back to Rudolph. 4 completely different star powers rushed in the body and finally accumulated in 4 parts of the body. Rudolph felt as if his body was torn into 4 parts. The compass star power rushed to Rudolph's head. His head seemed to fly out. His neck became extremely fragile and was about to break at any time. He couldn't pull out the head that was shaking left and right. The head kept turning, like the chaotic needle on the compass, and it was unknown which direction it was pointing to. At a certain moment, Rudolph felt that he saw the scene behind him. Did his neck twist 180 degrees? At a certain moment, everything Rudolph saw was upside down, with the sea above and the starry sky below. How did he achieve this perspective? Did his neck become a rubber rope? The star power of Vila rushed to Rudolph's 2 arms. Both arms seemed to have their own ideas. A breeze could blow them to swing constantly. Rudolph was like a man punching a turtle. His 2 arms swung uncontrollably. This was the wind control characteristics of Vila at work. Any breeze could affect his arms. The sound of his dislocated shoulder made Rudolph's teeth ache. The star power of Karina rushed to Rudolph's legs. The star power of Karina, the main relic of the giant relic, made Rudolph's legs extremely heavy. He couldn't even maintain the suspended state. He slowly fell and slowly sank into the sea. The star power of Argo rushed into Rudolph's abdomen, and his abdomen suddenly tightened and contracted. His abdomen was so shriveled that it was like he was trying his best to breathe in. His chest was propped up, but his abdomen was contracted. His abdomen was only sunken but not bulging, making it impossible for him to breathe. Before he could even take his last breath, Rudolph completely sank into the sea. 4 completely different constellation star powers acted in Rudolph's body in different parts, causing bloodshot eyes in Rudolph's eyes. He lowered his head in pain, and couldn't even cover his head. Just when he thought that this Argo was not completed, the huge star power overflowed into the sea. Circles of ripples appeared in the sea, like a heartbeat, awakening the monster deep in the sea. This is the ceremony site of Argo, the Argo shipwreck area. The Argo was the ship of the legendary hero Jason. It sank in the sea after carrying Jason's revenge. Jason's bravery was noticed by the god Zeus, who sent the Argo to the starry sky and turned it into the Argo. The Argo was too large, and in the long history, it slowly split into 4 constellations. This is the story of the Argo. The Argo has long been lost in history, but it has left some traces. The 4 constellations are the evidence of the Argo's existence. The star power of the 4 constellations wandered in the sea. At a certain moment, all the star power found a direction. The 4 star powers suddenly rushed towards the seabed, and an illusory light spot lit up in the deep seabed. As the light rose, Rudolph saw a sunken ship. The sunken Argo, that is, the Argo, slowly floated upwards under the call of the 4 star powers. The hull of the Argo had long been rotten. It was a sailboat composed entirely of starlight. The sails, stern, bottom, compass, are lifelike. The style of the hull is very ancient, as if it were painted in murals thousands of years ago, as if it came out of history.